Ugh. Starting off in a good way. Welcome in, everybody. My name is Jason Lyon, Mr. Mark of the Bearded Truth. I'm going to be sharing this out for a minute, so I apologize if you guys are replay viewers. You guys could just hop ahead a couple of moments. If you guys are already in here now, if you guys wouldn't mind helping out, sharing this out, and getting some support in here, we're going to have a lively discussion tonight. It's going to be all about the immigration, as well as we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with the consulate in Saudi Arabia. So good discussions tonight incoming your way. Let's just get some people in here. We're going to talk about talk about those two things, and it'll of course be a great night for good discussions. Cheryl, welcome in. Irish, welcome, good sir. Right, got that shared out. Pull up the YouTube comments. It is Friday already. I don't know how it happened so quickly, but I am thankful for it. Kimmy, welcome. How is everyone doing tonight? The wonderful, beautiful Friday nights. Hope you all are doing well. It appears as if my phone froze. Good. It did. Alright, sorry about that, guys. 1 second. My phone is currently not working, and so I want to get it back up and running. That way I can keep up with your guys' comments and everything, because as you guys do know, we just swapped over to the Restream app, so now I don't get to see your comments directly in front of me unless I have my phone up. So alright, looks like we're ready to go. We're ready to rock and roll. So thank you guys all for joining in on this wonderful Friday night. I'm Mr. America, the Bearded Truth, Jason Lyon. Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. When we normally would go live, it is 7:30. So yes, we are starting a little bit late. I hope you guys won't mind the apology. We also go live on Sundays and on Tuesday nights, 7 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you guys are joining in, keeping on top of everything. Got to get down on Friday. Yes, horrible song, horrible reference, but nonetheless an accurate song. So I first want to start to talk to you guys. One of the situations that's been really unfolding in of course of a divided way is the situation that's happening with the Khashoggi being killed in the consulate. So Saudi Arabia is being looked at by this. Saudi Arabia has already, right? So we're looking at the higher echelon of Saudi Arabia, thinking that this is a situation coming from the king himself, where that may be one of the things that's one way that a lot of people believe the intelligence is going. But it's, I wanted to wait on it. I didn't want to come out and just start dropping all these opinions. I didn't want to be unbiased with it in any way. So I wanted to give it time, allow it to unfold. I don't think that really it's a pressing issue ever for somebody to make an immediate response. And what we've seen from a lot of people is that that's what they've wanted. They want this immediate response, right? So we have somebody being killed. We know that he's been killed. We know that he was probably tortured before being killed. But the intelligence still there is a lot of hearsay. We don't have the exact physical proof right in front of us. We do have what the Saudi Arabian intelligence is saying, what those people are saying, but we have not physically seen it ourselves. So while we're seeing this all unfold, I want people to realize something, right? Because I'm seeing a lot of this around everywhere. We have to slow down. We have to make sure that we're making the right decisions. We have to make sure every time there's an attack, right? Every time that there's a chemical attack, a murder, an assassination, we have to slow down, allow the intelligence to be vetted, and then for the correct answers to come out before we start taking action. So a lot of people, mostly from what I've seen on the left, is to take immediate action, go in and cause a conflict. Of course, if they are responsible for it, whoever is responsible for it should certainly face their punishment, should be paying their dues. But we have to make sure we're getting the right person, because I want to flash back, right? Syria. So with the chemical attacks, there was 2 chemical attacks, 2 alleged chemical attacks, and both of those attacks have been, the initial intel was not matching the later on intel. So if that intel has not been properly vetted, we could be creating a situation in which we're taking action quickly. Now, Saudi Arabia is not the same as Syria. Syria is not going to be able to come back. Assad's not going to be able to come back and attack us. It would have to be an Assad ally. Saudi Arabia does have a little bit more capability, right? They can impact us in different ways. So the impact behind this, right? We have to be certain of everything that we do. This is, I see so many people jumping the gun on this, and we have to slow down. Even if you're, I hope that whether you're a Democrat or a conservative, you can throw away your party lines and you can say we're doing the right thing by waiting, ensuring it's correct, and then going after the people in a vicious manner, if that's what is deemed fit by both Congress and the president. So let's focus a little bit, make sure it's all correct, abide by the Constitution, and then do what is correct. Yes, so you're absolutely right with that, Lynn. So I was just reading a Washington Times article. I'm sorry, that was not it. I was reading a Reuters article. I pulled up the Honduras article. And yes, they have Saudi Arabia on Saturday, which is tomorrow for us Westerners. That yes, he is dead, and they said they fired 2 senior officials over the incident that has provoked an international outcry. So the 2 senior officials were fired. I think that's an interesting line to be said. I don't think that people should just be fired over this. But yes, there are 18 Saudi nationals that have been arrested with this, and the investigations are still underway. Depending on the severity of these 2 that were fired, and let me see if I can figure out what exactly they were. Okay, so the Royal Court Advisor Saul Al-Qahtani and Deputy Intelligence Chief Ahmed Asiri have been fired from their positions. So Royal Court Advisor and Deputy Intelligence Chief. So if those 2, if it was just nearly a negligence thing, absolutely right, be fired. If they just weren't keeping up with everything. But if they had some play in this, if they had some role in this, of course, I would hope that they would also be getting be looked at in a much more serious capacity. We of course have to wait and see how everything unfolds. Right, the investigation is still underway from their side. They also made note that none of the audio tapes, none of the hardcore intelligence has been spread to other countries. And so this is actually has gone against what the Turkish government ran media has been projecting out. So they've been spinning people up and doing effectively what the American media does, and that blows out what is actually given. They don't care about the facts. They don't care about the truth. And they will spin their own message. So absolutely, the Turkish government following in the same way. They might get hired back tomorrow. Yes, absolutely. I personally don't care what happened to the guy. Yeah, I don't. So I care on the aspect. So I think that we as a society, I have a personal experience that we'll get into as well. But we as a society, we just say, look, it's somebody from another country. I don't care. I think that we should care. We should all care whenever somebody is being murdered, whenever somebody is being aggressed against and taken out. Does that mean that we have to be emotional and just go guns ablaze in the situation? Absolutely not. Do I think that the American government should be the world police and go in and step in every time? No, we should not. But we should be looking at these things and seeing who is actually at fault. So if it's for this situation, we see someone that's at fault and we say, all right, we don't want to do business with you. We don't want to interact with you. We have to care in order to use these as springboards in order to make people better, right? We disassociate from people who think that that's acceptable and everything else. And I think for a large, for the 99% of our country, that's a view that we can all agree on, that it's not okay to kill others. But we can use that and understand that we need to push back even when people just want to hate each other, whether it's for your political ideology, whether it's for your skin color, whether it's for your gender, for your race, for whatever it is that somebody hates somebody else for, which we can all list off 1,000 different ways that people can hate each other, that we need to push back against that as well. We need to push back in every capacity. So I agree with the sentiment that I don't really care what happened, but at the same time, I think that we should all care, and we should all maybe take focus as to, maybe the Saudis aren't exactly great people if that's their leadership, if that's the way the intelligence comes, and maybe we should be disassociating. So the $450 billion that they've kind of promised with us, maybe we shouldn't be using that as a pawn chip. So here's what President Trump said, and I really not a huge fan of that, is he said they agreed to spend $450 billion on buying in and investing in the United States. So I hope we can keep that open. There are plenty of other things we can do. I might know a lot by Monday. I know a lot already. So that first part, they agreed to spend money to us. So we want to keep that open. But we want to do this investigation. We want to do the right thing. And so we have to work in order to, if it comes down to it, we have to be able to slap them on the wrist, but at the same time say, it's okay. It would be worse if we weren't in transactions with you. If we weren't in trade with you, it would be worse. I don't think that that's a proper way for any country to be acting, right? I don't... If we are to be a society that actually cares about atrocities, outrages, crisis, or things like that, and you have a government that accepts that, why is that a view? Why is that not enough in order to say we need to start pulling back? We need to start pulling away. You can promise us all this money for stuff, but we don't really need it. We have a booming economy. We have more jobs. We have a growth that's even beyond what was promised of being capable within our economy. Right? We were told that 2.5% GDP growth would be the high end. Now it would be the most that America could do because it was just so vast and so large. And we have that. We have that big government, or not big government, we have that booming economy right now, and there's no necessity to say we need the $450 billion from Saudi Arabia. We don't need that. So if they're found to be the king himself was being involved, right, we have to cut those ties. We have to impart an idea that as long as that king is in power, we don't want to do anything with your country. We don't want to be associated. We don't want to be affiliated. Because we shouldn't be, right? If America wants to be better on the world scale, we can use our power in non-physical ways in order to influence others. We have that capacity. We have that ability. But yet, here we sit and we accept it and we say, nah, they were planning to spend $500 billion with us, so we're going to play nice. That's not... You don't tolerate evil just because I benefit from those evil, right? Any time that this is occurring, it needs to be stopped. I agree you cannot save the world. So I'm going back and reading some of the comments. I apologize. Saudi Arabia will always be immoral to me until they do away with Friday morning chop square. China needs it bad. Yes, China does need it bad. China needs to get some serious pushback as well on the trade side of things. But we'll have to see how this all unfolds. But I don't know, like, what are your guys' thoughts? Do you guys think that President Trump should be worried about the trade more than worried about the image that it projects? Or should we start actually caring about our image on the world platform? I'm not saying that we have to play buddy-buddy with people. I'm saying that we should be showing the world how a society is supposed to be. If we are supposed to be the world leaders, why aren't we leading by action? Why aren't we willing to do things in order to protect ourselves? Right? Or not to protect ourselves, but to actually portray us in a moral light, in a way that says, if you are good, we will stand with you. If you are bad, we stand against you. You don't have to do this with militaries, right? We don't have to go into some crazy long war, right? We don't have to go into Iraq war again. We don't have to go into the Afghanistan war again. We don't have to do these wars that last for 2 decades, in which people are actually now serving in the military that were born after the event that initiated it, and they're now serving in a war that they were not born yet when it started. They weren't born yet, but they're going over and fighting. Like, we have to have end goals, and we don't need to do this. We don't need to make our people suffer. I don't care how much money is made out of war. I don't care. And we need to stop being a military complex and actually use civility to get to move mountains. I think it's come to this because other methods haven't worked. We've never really tried to use not tariffs, but like the absence, the omitting of having transactions against another country, and been successul at it. We've never actually tried that. We've done tariffs, of course, and we've had other countries play tariffs, but these are always things that go away. And when it comes to the Middle East, when it comes to the culture in the Middle East, the money is a huge aspect for them, right? They're an extremely generous society. So if you look at the way that some of their cultures are, they throw money around because they know the money's coming back, and they have extremely low interest rates. They have they're a very prosperous nation in a lot of ways. Money is a big aspect for them. You cut away the importing of goods, right? You're affecting them more than what you would affect another country in which you're actually providing them food and shelter and whatnot. Like it's so high up on their priority list as this money or whatever they can get with their money, that there are nations that are starving, that don't have running water, that don't have these supplies. And it means more to the Middle East than it would to these other countries. So hit them where it hurts. Use their society, use their culture, use their views in order to figure out ways to not use military force, but be able to make an influence, make an impact on them, to make them change their ways. Because when one businessman says, I lost a big customer because of this guy over here, he's not going to be happy with this guy anymore. And so use the influence, figure out from their society how they tier things, how they actually prioritize what is important, what is not important, and you use those against them. Fantastic view of your other addresses. I'm not sure what that meant, Fritzer. I'm sorry. Maybe autocorrect messed you up a little bit. But I really hope that we can find a way to pull back on that. That is a serious need. Let us pull back and not be involved in such a big way. I would also argue we already do a lot of good for other countries. Oh, I'm not saying that we don't. I'm not saying that at all. Right? I'm just saying it would mean more to them than it would for the countries that we do good for, that we do actually provide for. And yes, absolutely, right? When we provide foreign aid to some countries, there is good that is being done with that. We can talk about how much of it is being misallocated, how much of it is from getting hit with fraud, waste, and abuse. But we have to look at it from all sides. Oh, social icons. Okay. Thank you, Eaton. General Eaton. Oh yeah, I forgot I have that up there now. Yes, so I have the Facebook link on there. The Facebook link, we actually got to change up the ad there. We don't really utilize the Facebook link anymore, but we are on YouTube streaming live right now. If you guys want to hop over to the YouTube, hit the subscribe button, help me out. I think we're at like 31 subscribers right now, so getting up to 1,000 is going to be a little bit. But yes, YouTube. And I'm on Twitter, Periscope, of course. And then we have the email there. So if you guys have topics you guys want covered and talk about, if you guys got great links that you guys felt provided a real strong insight for something, you can always send them to me. And I'll always try to shout you out as well as give you a notification if those topics do get covered. We aren't the only source from what Saudis want. Yes, that is true. Our isolation will push them to China or Russia. Yep, and it would go to China or Russia. And that's another aspect that, of course, people try to justify. Well, our enemies get this. Whether it's your intellectual property enemy, such as China, or whether it's Russia, who literally just wants to see the world burn. So yes, so that idea, of course, is there. But do you want to stand as a principled nation willing to fight against evil, or are you a nation that wants to be okay with evil as long as it doesn't create more evil? So I think that there's a big overarching topic there. There's certainly a dispute for both sides. I'm just of the side that if we're such a great nation, if our military is so strong, if we are so capable, then we should be standing up for what's right. We should be making America great again on a world platform. Make it a nation in which people love, adore, and respect. Not a nation in which half the world or a quarter of the world hates, thinks is a bully. It wouldn't encourage the change you desire. I want to see us be a better nation in all aspects. Maybe if we could do better on the world platform, maybe that means we could also do better when it comes to political division. We can do a lot of better things in that aspect. But yes, so. Oh no, I agree. Saudi and China, or Saudi going to China and Russia, is a greater evil. I completely agree, and that was the argument, right? We allow for evil because it prevents a bigger evil. That was the other side of the argument. Yes, I agree. We can't beat all the evil, point of diminishing returns. Oh, I agree. It's of course it's impossible to fight all evil. Evil will exist no matter what you do, no matter how much good you perform. But I don't think that should be necessarily a reason not to fight against it. There's so much evil in this world. Why this one guy? I think it's because it was such a sloppy job. It was a job that was just done so sloppily, and the initial intel and looks as if it is coming from that government, and so we have that clear distinction. It's not like if you guys remember back the Russian male and daughter who were gassed and killed, right? That intelligence, it was another sloppy hit. That's why it made world news. So it's about trying to get these hits. If the government is performing them and they're doing them sloppily and they're being found out, right? That's why they make it such a big notice. And so I realize a lot of people wanted to downplay it in that way, but I think it's a much bigger thing. Right? It's a government being weak. It's a government being sloppy. And so one corrupt government wants to stop the other corrupt government from continuing on that way. So, but another big topic that's been going on in the country, well, not just our country, but also in Mexico, is this Honduras caravan. So, it's a caravan that began in Honduras, and as it's continued on its way to Mexico, and in hopes of going through Mexico to America, they've been gaining people over time. So we're sitting right around, I believe it's right around 4,000 people right now that are coming through. This one is saying 2,000. So this one was today. So if this one is the 2,000, then even my title is all messed up. That's fantastic. But when this caravan's coming through, and there's been pushback from President Trump. President Trump has been very stern. Of course, President Trump has been fighting against illegal immigration since he came in. He's been very consistent on this. He's been wanting the wall. He's been wanting to bloat ICE, and he wants to have a strong border. This is something he's been adamant against. This is something that President Obama was adamant against. This was something that President Bush was adamant against, and this was something that Bill Clinton was adamant against. Was against the idea of illegal immigration. So President Trump comes in and he calls up Mexico and he says, "Hey, if you guys don't stop them, then we're gonna cut off trade. Like, we're gonna shut off the border. We're gonna shut down the transiting between the two." And it's going to be heavy. It's going to affect you, and so we're using trade in order to discourage it. I think it's a good methodology. Also, Honduras itself. Honduras on Tuesday was begging for them to come back. So they said that the caravan. The Honduras Foreign Ministry said that the caravan was politically manipulated in order to make the country look bad just days after leaders were in Washington promising better cooperation with the Trump administration. And so they are trying to call this back. They want it to come back because they see that President Trump was saying, if this gets here, right, we're cutting off support to you. We're cutting off everything. And so President Trump, right, being as consistent as he's been, trying to fulfill all of his campaign promises, is being effective at trying to shut this down. Now, what we're seeing now is that the Mexican authorities are coming down on the southern border. They're sending down their authorities to their southern border to shut it down as much as possible. Of course, with this being such a large group of people, 2,000 or 4,000, if I remember correctly. So it looks like 2,000. So I'll just say 2,000 from now on. It's these 2,000 people versus the 300 Mexican authorities. Now, when this happens, Mexico is a very lenient country in some aspects, right? When it comes to seeking asylum, they allow people to seek asylum in their country. And so what you're going to see is you're either going to see everybody asking for it, and that's going to lead to a giant wave of their holdings being overran. And so they're going to be crippled in that manner. They're not going to be able to provide a service to all of these people, and that's going to make it, of course, difficult for them. They're gonna get the media backlash of not taking care of these refugees. They're going to get effectively a watered down version of what we would get here in America. But if they manage to make it through, and then they come here and they seek asylum here, if they were to get past the Mexican government and get here and to seek asylum, could you imagine what's going to happen from the media when this occurs? Right now they're saying, yeah, it's kind of a bad thing, but at the same time, Trump is horrible. Trump is deranged. Trump is just anti people. He doesn't care about them, and that's of course a gross image of what he's actually doing. But it's going to be made look bad, right? Because if they actually allow the people to come in and seek asylum, then our holdings will be overran. And then, oh, look at this, these people got separated, or these people got separated, or whatever, right? We're going to see that be replayed, just like what we saw before. But here's what President Trump is willing to do. He has already said that he will have the military there. And he said not the National Guard, but the military. And so I think that President Trump is stepping up the rhetoric a little bit, and in the idea that he's portraying this as an invasion. Now, 2,000 people, of course, yeah, that is a small invasion. But I think the media is going to try to capitalize on this and say, look, Trump is stepping up the angry rhetoric. He hates people so much that are just here to try to seek asylum. And of course, you have to understand that when people seek asylum, not all of them are good people. I think that anybody reasonable can understand that not all of the people that seek asylum are good people. Yes, they may be fleeing a horrible, horrific situation. They may, the Honduras government is not providing a lot to their people. It's not helping out in any way, and it's been hurting their people because bigger governments always fall in that way. But it's it's just disgusting to see the way that this is going. It has to stop, right? It is a bit of an invasion, so Trump is right, but having the media be so bombastic and push their narrative, and that is just anti-Trump, I hope that more people are able to see through this, right? We shouldn't allow people to come into our country that are not vetted. And of course, the asylum process would be able to do that, but we can't even have people go through an asylum process with 2,000 people coming in, and expect people to come in and be processed in a timely manner. They're wearing more expensive gear than what I have. Yeah, I mean, yeah, some of the people are well off in some capacity. So if the media was not so quick to be hysterical about everything, if Democrats were not so quick to be hysterical about Trump, if people were not so quick to jump to the defense of one side or another, and try to play it a little more objectively, then maybe we could process some of them for asylum. Maybe we could actually provide some support. But instead, it's basically an all or nothing from both sides. Either we accept everyone or we reject them all. And I don't know. I understand the idea, right? Maybe I'm becoming more pragmatic in my days, but I understand the idea that some people want to flee. If they're good people, if they're actually hardworking, and they're too lazy to not too lazy. That's completely wrong word. They are not capable or willing to fight for change in their own country because of how corrupt it is or whatever. Then we could provide them with asylum. Fully vet them and allow them to seek asylum. But we have to be able to take time to do this. We have to. Do we know where they're going to go? Where they're going to enter Texas or California? Probably all across the border. I know that right now the caravan is mostly together. There's been a couple stories that I read that said that people are joining the caravan, and there's also people that are splitting away. So they're expecting that a large swath of the caravan is going to split off, and that's going to lead people to be going around everywhere. So Kimmy made a comment earlier. In fact, I don't even remember the last time the media narrative mattered to me except for giggles. It's at least we can laugh at it, right? We can laugh at the hysteria. It's when it comes to those people, though. Here's the other side, right? This is my more logical point of view, I think. My less emotional view, my more logic point of view. If you have people that want to flee a country, they know that their country is not good. They know that their country is failing. It's their reasoning why it's failing, whether they think it's just the bad people in government or if they think it's just the aspect of government itself, shouldn't change the idea that they should be fighting for change, that they should be standing up and fighting it in some capacity, whether it is completely civilly and going and camp or doing campaign races against them, trying to get elected, or if that's, you know, going out and creating activist groups and trying to get people to get the wool pulled out from over their eyes, and, you know, say, look, we just got to tough this out, advocate for a smaller government, and become liberty minded, and, you know, we'll come back to being a prosperous nation and everyone can survive. Or, you know, so they have that they could do, and we are taking that away by allowing people to take refugee or seek refugee here, and that includes in Mexico. If you want a revolution, if you want an ideologically driven revolution, or if you just want a government revolution, it takes people. It doesn't take people leaving. It takes people staying and changing. And so I struggle between those 2 points of view. Do we accept the good people and turn away the bad people? Or do we just tell them, give them the idea and send them home? It's going to be big. Fix your own stuff and stay home. Yeah, I mean, that certainly is my more logical point of view, I would say. Stay there and fix it yourself. Another big story that's been coming up. Well, it's not a big story, and it should be a big story. I wrote a small little novel on Facebook about this, and it's involving the Supreme Court is about to hear a case. Let me go pull up this case real quick. I apologize. I should have had it pulled up for you guys before I went live. I only had 5 articles up instead of everything else. Here we go. So the Supreme Court is going to be seeing a court case that could determine whether Facebook, Twitter, and other social media companies can censor users. Big topic, right? Can a company block people on a public platform, or is that a violation of the First Amendment? I think the big idea that is being missed here, for people that are advocating and saying this is how it should be, right? They should be blocked from blocking people. They should not be allowed to block people from a public forum. The problem with this is the fact that people want to use the First Amendment in that capacity. Here's the bigger issue. Facebook, Twitter, and all these companies are not government entities. The First Amendment protects the public from being silenced by the government. So it doesn't protect the public from silencing the public. It doesn't do that at all. You can tell people to stop talking. You can ask people to stop talking. That's not a violation of the First Amendment. You can tell people they're not allowed to speak here in this privately owned area, whether you've made it a public place like a restaurant, right? You still have that ability to. And I'm seeing, I know people that are hurt right now, that are emotional about, you know, Alex Jones being blocked from Facebook, from Twitter, from PayPal, from like all of these different platforms. You know, they're outraged and they want change and they want this to be fixed. Don't fall victim to advocating for a government with more control. Advocate for a government to get out of it. Do these companies receive any government funding? They shouldn't, right? But of course, the Constitution shouldn't be adhered to, at least on the federal level. So, yes, I believe that a lot of these companies, if they're not getting direct money or direct funding, I believe that they are getting at least subsidies and everything else. So yes, they absolutely are receiving government funding in that aspect. So they shouldn't be receiving that. I would advocate against that entirely, right? They shouldn't be getting subsidies. They shouldn't be getting paid out. There should be no interaction between them and the government, right? And but sadly, that's not the world we live in. People believe that, you know, you have to have a government to ensure your economy and your state is the best it can be, right? Provide subsidies for this company to come into your state and to run out of your state because they make revenue. The state makes more revenue from those companies. And so they create incentives for it, and people are happier, more jobs and everything else. When you give the government the reins on how your economy runs, you're not advocating for a fairer or a more free market. You're advocating for one company to be favored over another by the government standards. And so back to this idea, the way when the Supreme Court does hear this ruling, the majority opinion, if it actually cares about the Constitution, which is what the Supreme Court is supposed to do, is supposed to be ruling on the constitutionality of things. If they actually cared about the Constitution, they would take this case and say Facebook, Twitter, and other social media companies can certainly censor, block, mute, squelch, prevent, or hinder people from being on their platforms. They should be able to. It's that idea that's, we don't say because I am upset I get to control this company. Advocating that the government, let's run down this idea, right? Let's run down this idea. If the government can determine who is allowed to use or not allowed to use a platform. So if they say everyone is allowed to use this platform, you're telling, we are advocating in that aspect, or the people who advocate for it are advocating that the government can control who or who cannot be using certain platforms, and that in itself would be violation of the First Amendment, freedom of association. So the Supreme Court should be ruling in favor of the Constitution, and that is to say we have no control. We have no authority in order to determine any of this. Any other decision, should it be the majority, if it's not in favor of these companies, would be a clear violation of our Constitution, and be another step in taking away the rights and liberties of the American populace, as well as advocate for a bigger government. We must hope that the Supreme Court, now with Justice Kavanaugh on board, with Neil Gorsuch on board, will rule in favor of the Constitution. We're supposed to have this 5-4 split now. Let's see exactly how it comes out. I hope you guys are hearing this and following this, and you guys, if you were not an advocate in the way that I am, if you were hoping that Facebook and Twitter and them would be barred from this, that you can look at it from the point of view of what you're advocating for. Absolutely. So somebody said speech can even be censored by family members around Thanksgiving dinner if it gets out of hand. Absolutely, and that's important. If they censor, then they aren't a platform; they're a publisher and can be held liable for content. Absolutely. So that's if they are changing up what is allowed and what is not allowed for a post, right? If they say, look, everyone can post everything except for this, that, or the other, then yes, the corporation itself would be liable. But that's not, the government can't tell you, hey, you have to let everyone do this. I completely agree with you, Lynn. Post offices are constitutional. I wonder if these platforms fall under that. No, so the idea, so the post office itself, what that is referring to is the USPS services. So them sending mail, it wouldn't fall under the same way because that's actually is under Article 1, Section 8. What was that, Clause 6? I think it was. I don't remember. So Article 1, Section 8, and that's actually is congressional budget spending authorizations. So that's what they're allowed to spend their money on, right? This is the general welfare. This is what they're allowed to make laws surrounding. And so it's just merely a parcel system for the people in order to ensure that mail can be sent all around. So I think it would be a large stretch in order to say now they have their ties in with the social media, because the social media does provide information, packets of information from one entity to another entity. But if a private company says they can prevent POTUS from blocking because it is a public square. So yes, I think that's another way that people are going to try and spin this. Absolutely, right? So the President of the United States saying this is my official platform. Here's the problem, right? Is it's still a private organization. It's still privately owned. And so, I mean, even if it's publicly owned, right? Even if it's owned by the people that, the stockholders and whatnot, it's still something that can have the ramifications, that can take the consumers itself can provide the ramifications. And so should President Trump be blocked from, say, Twitter, right, where he says this is like my official statement place? Should he be blocked from there? That would not be a violation of his First Amendment. That would not be even government cannot determine, right? They can't say we own this platform in the capacity in which we get to guarantee ourselves in this. I don't think that would be necessarily a great thing. Of course, that is in some aspects advocating for technocracy. Technocracy is the term that technology companies, that the big tech, so the social media companies, are trying to go around government and manipulate the people and control the people in some aspects. That in some ways does advocate for that. I think that we, the people, need to have a free market to where we can say, look, Facebook is trying to control people. Twitter is trying to control people. They're trying to control the conversation. They're trying to control what people are allowed to say and not allowed to say. And that means that we should be advocating for people to create new infrastructures, to create new platforms, to create new sources in which we can reach out and discuss with each other. Of course, we've seen Gab.ai. Of course, we've seen MeWe. There's a plenty of outside sources in which people can come together and get to know one another. And we should be using these platforms and growing them and advocating for that way to remove the possibility of a technocracy. But it's not so much a government issue. It's not so much an issue that the government can determine that it can be on a platform, but the other part of this, right? And here's where things do get kind of hairy, is that President Trump has said, this is my official platform. So as long as he is on that platform, he is incapable of blocking others, right? Because once again, it's a First Amendment issue. It's a First Amendment discussion in which all the people have the right to redress their grievances to the government. So if the government is talking to you via this platform, right, and it has the capability in order for you to voice your concerns, your dissent, to redress your grievances specifically, then it has to be capable, and you can't block people, you can't silence people. This is something that I brought up a while back, that even members of Senate and members of Congress, the House of Representatives, right, they are susceptible to this as well. So when you find a senator or a member of the House and they've blocked you on platforms, right, that is a violation of the First Amendment. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal of everything that's going on out there. So the Supreme Court needs to rule in favor of the private companies. You can start Trump book. Privately owned but publicly funded. Exactly. Free speech doesn't mean all speech is welcomed. It should be. We should be able to be civilized enough in order to defeat bad speech. Bad speech, of course, is false speech, fake news, or just flat out lies. Censoring one side, but the other side makes them liable for the content. So So censoring one side but not the other side makes them liable for the content of the ones they don't censor. Not necessarily. So what they're saying is that these people, when they censor, if they say things that are vague enough and they're like terms of conditions, right, and they don't block somebody else, right, we should understand this, that the way that they get out of the liability on that is that they aren't publishing it, they aren't producing it. But if they are taking an honesty hit, or taking a stance in which they say this content, not from this source, but this content is no longer allowed, then they would be liable for the rest of it. And I believe that even Twitter does have that, so they should have some liability issues with that, right? We've seen where people have been told, hey, you're blocked from joining your account until you delete this post, until you delete this comment. So yes, there is some liability within that aspect. What was the official presidential platform before? It in a lot of ways, it was the news, right? It used to be, of course, like the president would sit down and have like a address the nation and everything else. And then now it's President Trump coming onto Twitter and dropping bombs, whether it's well articulated or whether it's bombastic in itself and just punching back. It's definitely the way. Oh yeah, Jim Jordan's tweets gets yeah, no, absolutely. And you know, even Democrats and Republicans all alike get a lot of that fake news being spewed at them from paid bots, from trolls, from this, that, and the other. Sucky part is they got to take it. It's not a beautiful world that we live in right now. It's very uncivil. And I realize I completely missed the personal story I was going to talk about earlier, but it's, yeah, we are completely unruly. Whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent, I would say a larger swath of the people on any political ideology are uncivil in some capacity. They're either talking down and demeaning to people who want to have conversations. They start off the ad hominems. They start off shutting down conversations instead of advocating for them. And so we all need to get better. And the side that gets better first is the side that's really going to win when it comes to these elections, right? We're going to see the midterms. The midterms are going to be a huge reflection on which party is actually standing up for what's better. And I'm not saying better as in their political ideologies. I'm not saying better as in they're going to be better for the country. I'm saying better as in the rhetoric that they've displayed. So both sides have obviously done a lot of atrocious things, but what's been happening lately? We've had Democrats, right? Cory Booker, Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, coming out, you know, even former ones, right? Or not former ones, but former people with power, Eric Holder and Hillary Clinton, advocating for disgusting, abhorrent actions. Advocating to get up in the faces of others, advocating for uprisings, advocating and saying when they go low, we kick them, right? That's going to be a huge thought in the voters' minds when it comes to these midterms, because it's the last thing that's happened. And we've even seen the left-wing news. Some of them, like Mika and what's the dude's name? I forgot the dude's name. But anyways, they were even like, look, Democrats, what are you guys doing? Like, you guys are doing this. And it's that level of incivility that is going to cause them a lot of sway in these midterms. And so they're shooting themselves in the foot. So we can see that being bad is bad for your party. The next logical step for everyone to take is being good people will be better for your party. If you're good, it's good. If you're bad, it's bad. Let's just try to personify that in every aspect. Let's actually grow on that, and let's actually continue to be better people. Whether you're a libertarian, whether you're a conservative, whether you're a Republican, whether you're a Democrat, whether you're a liberal, whether you're a progressive, whether you're a socialist, whether you're a communist, whether you're alt-right, it doesn't matter. Let's all be better people and realize that everyone across the platform, across the spectrum, is human Let's be nice. Let's be decent, and let's grow together. I realize I'm sounding like a hippie right now, but let's make the world a better place. And because life is too short for us to sit here and just hate people. Don't hate the people, hate the ideologies, hate the views, and work to change the views. So you change ways, you change perspectives by being better. If they go low and you go lower, or you kick them, you're not going to bring people to your side. You may feel the political win for the day. You may say, look, I punched them in the nose. But the blowback will hurt more every time. So we have to... Trump is racist. Can you, African King, that's funny. Could you please elaborate? I would love to know. Fuck Trump, racist, shut up. Okay, I would like for you to please elaborate. Because I'm not sitting here and attacking you. I'm actually advocating for people to care about each other, and you've decided that now's the time in order to say, F this guy, shut up, everything else. New here, is this a Trump supporter? No, I am not a Trump supporter. I'm not a Trump hater. I am just merely a guy that is seeking the truth. And, you know, things are good, things are bad, and you know, everything should be discussed about in as many different agendas and narratives that we can in order to understand it. So I'm an objectivist. We need love and not hate. But have you read your comments up above? Have you read your comments up above? Like, you've said nothing but hate, and you're saying now that we need love. Like, why are you not embodying what you're even talking about? Why are you not coming out here and actually saying, look, let's make it better? Instead, what you're doing is you're spewing hate and saying F hate. Like, do you just hate yourself that much? Like, I'm trying to have an actual honest conversation with you, and I feel like you're either A, incapable, or B, not willing. And I wish that you were willing, because I don't think that you are incapable. I wish that you were willing. Absolutely. Liberals gaslighting people all the time. Absolutely. We can have honest conversations with people. We can make the world a better place by just accepting that people will become deranged, they'll become hysterical, and they don't want to talk about things. They don't want to discuss things at all. But we should advocate for it. Trump racism is self-explanatory. So you made an accusation. You have nothing to actually put forth to change the minds of another. But you're just going to say, look, I said it, therefore it's true. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. They have righteous hate. The ends justify the means. We are evil. Yeah, absolutely. Welcome in, Buggy Bumper. Welcome in, my man. How was everything? You know what Trump stands for. What does Trump stand for? Yeah, you're absolutely right with the comment about the left, I guess, having this self-righteous hate. Because what I think is good, because what I think is best, if you disagree with it, it's because you're a bad person, because you're a disgusting person, because you don't advocate for the goodness, because they fail to see that their way is not the only way that is possible. They fail to see the flaws in their own way. And so we have to be able to figure out a way to bring back civility, to at least have a conversation with them, to show them the other side, instead of just coming in and being bombastic whenever you're in a conversation with somebody who inherently disagrees with you. We need to work on being able to have discussions again. My conclusion is the evidence for my conclusion. Yes. Lady Grace, welcome in. It's beautiful whenever people say that, right? Buggy Bumper is the greatest at analyzing and shredding apart things in a witty way. So if you guys have not followed Buggy Bumper, make sure you guys hit the follow button for the man. He's a great guy, great content provider, and full of wit and truly a level of elegance in the way that he speaks that it's just so soothing. His silky smooth voice. But anyways, off of that, when it comes, yeah, so when it comes to the liberal, I call them the left, because not all liberals are bad. Some liberals are blind and they become bad because of it, but there are some good liberals out there. There's the Bolshevik revolution. Yeah, so it's going to become violent, right? I think that with the way the midterms are going to turn out, the calls from Hillary, the calls from Eric Holder, the calls from Maxine Waters, the calls from Cory Booker, all of these people, it's really going to be stepped up and taken to another level. And it's because they're not getting their way. They threw a temper tantrum for 2 years. They threw a bloody temper tantrum, defended acts of violence against people. They've smeared people, they've aggressed against people, and they've vilified people. They've portrayed false narratives and just straight out lied about people on a daily basis for 2 years, and made up evidence in order to back their other made up evidence, which backs their made up narrative of everything. And that's not going to be enough. That's not going to be enough. So at the end of the 2 years of this bloody tantrum, it's not enough. And they lose again. They aren't going to win the Senate. The House is up for grabs. It does lean Democrat, but it's still up for grabs. If they don't get their way, the only way for them to make it up, the only way for them to fix this is to become more violent, to become more hysterical, to become more bombastic, to go out and just amp it up to 20. They've been at 12 for the last 2 years, but they're going to take it to 20. So it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. And that's why right now I'm trying my damnedest. In every conversation I have, I'm trying my damnedest to bring back civility. I wish that more people were doing this. I know I see a lot of people on the right. I know a lot of people on the right do the same. I know some people on the left who do the same. I don't see a lot of people intermixing that are trying to do this. And that's what we should all be trying to do. I want to see what he said. All right. So, if you were from minority, you could understand, but the privileges will obscure to feel for others. So it's amazing that you brought up privilege. So you brought up race, you brought up privilege because of the race, right? I believe that you're referring to minority as in racial minorities. So me as a white male, obviously I was afforded privileges that enabled me to be better than others. And I want to point out to you just of how stupid, how a lack of knowledge that has. Because there's really, when you look at my line of my entire life, when you compare mine to other people who have taken the same or similar courses of other ethnicities, they're all doing better than I am, right? I was a nuclear mechanical operator in the United States Navy. So I got trained on running nuclear reactors. I could go to a nuclear power plant, make over $100,000 a year, and just live out my days like that. I didn't want to be involved with nuclear power. But I know plenty of people that are, as you said, in the minority that got out. They're making over $100,000. They're enjoying life. They don't have any issues. They don't have a criminal history because they weren't stopped and frisked. They didn't have a society that said they were not accepted and so they couldn't be hired on. They've had no issues. So why are they the exception to the rule? Why are they the exception to the rule? If they didn't carry this chip on their shoulder and they were able to be successful, why is it that they were Could it be that the chip is enough to weigh them down? Is the chip enough in order to weigh somebody down? The idea that you are born and therefore you're a victim, do you think that that would weigh you down enough and to diminish your ability to be successful? Of course, right? If you were demoralized because you were born a victim, you would not be able to be successful. But instead, right, what you are projecting out here is that white people don't have to work, that white people don't have to struggle. So I think that you've looked at race in a way that is disgusting, because I think that you hold race as a value. So somebody has 1 point or 0 points or 0.5 points based on their skin color, and that obviously adds or subtracts to their value as a person. I really wish that you would focus a little bit less on the ethnicity of the people around you, and maybe focus a little bit more on the content of their character. I'm sure that we all know of a great individual in the American history that said that that's what we should be focusing on, is on the content of one's character. But you want to judge me for my race. I appreciate your concern. I appreciate you for thinking that my race had anything to do with where I am. But you were completely far off base. You will never be successful if you find a way to become a victim in every situation. So I hope that one day you'll be able to get this chip off your chest or off your shoulder. Be free from it all. Think for yourself and be successful for yourself. If you can't do it for yourself, do it for your family. If you got a wife, if you got a husband, if you got a girlfriend, got a boyfriend, whatever it is. If you have kids, if you don't have kids, whoever is surrounding you in your life, I hope that you can do it for them. Do it for somebody. You're stuck in your life for the rest of your life. Do something with it. We can be better than that. I hope that you can be better than that. Alright, who's this Elliot guy that I'm supposed to be watching? None of the Trump policies affect me. All of the Trump policies affect me, which is why me as a libertarian, I say Trump's policies shouldn't affect me. Trump's policies should be based on, hey, we have a military. What are we doing with the military? Hey, here's what I have afforded to me in Article 2 of the Constitution. This is what I'm allowed to do, and these are all the things that I'm doing that I'm not allowed to do. Let's stop doing these, and let's focus on these. So President Trump's policies all affect us. They affect me, they affect you, they affect everyone in this country. Absolutely, right? Because he affects the trade, he affects the tariffs, he affects conflicts, he affects foreign aid, he affects everything that was kind of afforded to Congress. So can we at least be honest enough to know that policies are affecting me as well as affecting you? I hope that I'm getting through to you. I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm not trying to be disgusting. I'm not trying to be demeaning or condescending to you. But you started off with show more love, no more hate. You need to embody that for real. Like, embody that a little bit. Show a little bit of love. Show a little bit of compassion for one another, and don't just try to make yourself the biggest victim. You might get further in life. They affect the free world. I have other guys' wives. That's how I roll. I love it, Boogie. Always end with great one-liners. So it's... I still didn't see who's this Elliot guy that I'm supposed to watch. People say America is the most powerful country, then say it doesn't affect you. Yeah. Don't worry. It just affects everyone in the world, but doesn't affect us. It's good. It's good. Oh wow, brown eye blue. Okay, so I'll check out Jane Elliott. I will check her out. If it's a her, I'll check out Jane Elliott, and I'll look into that. All right. So I will go check into somebody, from what it sounds like, maybe somebody that's advocating for racism, or some racial bias, if you will. And you know, I think that there's another big conversation that can be held when it comes to biases. Of course, there's bias in the world. Of course, there are people that want to associate with people like themselves. Of course, that occurs. That happens from white people. That occurs from black people. That occurs from Hispanics. That occurs from Asians. That occurs from Pacific Islanders. That occurs from literally everybody out there in the world, right? There's biases out there. Absolutely, 100%. I agree. There are people out there that have disgusting views. But they are the vast minority within those select demographics. They are the minority. And when you find somebody that actually has those views, you know that person is a person that I should stay away from. That's a person that either A, I should stay away from, or B, challenge them on their views. Try to change their minds, because life is too short to hate one another. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Right? Hate the ideology, hate the views, but don't hate the person. That study has been thoroughly shredded. Yeah, I think that if that was the study that there's a couple of these racist stories or studies that have been done that are just you can either train for them, when you replicate them, you will not get the same results, things like that. And I don't know if that one is one of those, but I know that there's a couple of them out there like that. So I don't know if I scared you off now. I should have actually looked up your name. African King. I don't know if I scared you off, but I hope that you can be better tomorrow than you were today. Oh, you are still here. All right. So I genuinely hope that you can be better tomorrow than you were today, because today was not a good day. From what I've seen of you, at least. Maybe you just went and saved a grandma from crossing a 6-lane highway from a speeding Pinto that was going to just completely demolish her and put her 18 grandchildren into foster care. Maybe you just did that, and then now you got to level out the playing field and come back and do dastardly things. If that's what it is, then I'm glad that I could be your punching bag. But if there was nothing to justify what you're doing, then I hope tomorrow will be a better day for you. No? Okay. All right. Maybe I think that my delay is happening to where I just had that big long discussion and I got your no right as soon as I finished it. So I think that's at least funny. But yeah, so we got really far off track. So yes, I agree that Trump has done some pretty dastardly things. Trump has done some things that I completely disagree with. But that doesn't, if you're going to make the assertion that somebody is a racist, you actually need to provide like empirical evidence of it. You need to provide something other than it's self-proving, because if it's self-proving, then it couldn't be challenged, and it is being challenged. I'm asking you to prove it. Like saying a red truck is red, right? It's self-evident. You look at it and it's red, therefore it's a red truck. That's self-evident. Saying somebody's actions determine their character is self-evident. You would actually have to provide those key instances. My delay is really long. I'm so sorry about that. It's because I'm going through Restream, which adds like a couple, or I'm going through OBS, which adds a couple seconds, and then it goes to Restream, which adds a couple seconds, and then goes to Periscope, which adds a couple of seconds. So it's stacked on stacked on stacked. But yeah, no. So I lost track of what I was talking about, what I was discussing with you guys, but it's bad day at the office for His Majesty. But yes, please just be better tomorrow. Please be better. If you think his delay is long, you should see his penis. Oh, man. Good old Boogie. Talking about stuff from down under. That's a good one. All right. But yeah, no, King, if you're still in here, please tomorrow be a better man. my last word of advice, my word of wisdom to everyone, is that no matter how much struggle you went through today, no matter how hard it was today, you could wake up tomorrow and say tomorrow's going to be a better day. Tomorrow you're going to strive to make it better. You're gonna fight to right the wrongs that you did today. You're going to try to make the world in some way a better place. It's going to be a struggle. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. But damn it, if you aren't willing to do it, can you really advocate for others to do it, right? Be the leader. Take charge and make this your movement. Make this your movement to make the world a better place. If you can do that, if you can inspire somebody else to make the world a better place, you are providing more in that aspect than what you can do when you provide somebody with $5, a homeless person $5, right? Because you're feeding him for a moment, but you're providing to not just that individual that you change their mind, but the individuals in which they interact. And so you're effectively going to create a hopeful snowball effect, an avalanche of goodness around the world. So be better today, tomorrow. Strive to be better. Never accept today as your best. No matter how great you did today, no matter how great you did, you nailed all the tasks you wanted to do. You've nailed them flawlessly. Advocate for tomorrow. I'm going to find a way to do it better. Make yourself better today, or make yourself better for tomorrow, right? Because every day, right, at the end of the day, if everyone is striving for greatness, you're not giving yourself excuses, you're not holding yourself back. If you're striving for greatness, even if you fail, right, just like the saying goes, shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you land in the stars. So even if you fail, you still were better, and you still have tomorrow to be better. All right, hold on. Jason is red as Fritz one. I don't hate anyone, but I hate his policies, which are discriminatory and prejudiced. So can you explain to me what ones of his policies are discriminatory or prejudiced? I'm more than willing. I wish I had a phone line set up. I would actually allow you to call in so that we can have this interaction in a more streamlined way. Because I want to actually break this down for you. That I think you're trying to find the victimhood in this a little bit. And I'm not blaming you. I'm not faulting you. I think that all of us have in some way succumbed to what the media tries to do to us, and that is to divide us. The media it orchestrates the democratic view, and the democratic view is that the divide is needed. The divide is needed in order to have control. A populace that is united cannot be controlled, but a populace divided is much more easier to control. You throw out the red meat and you watch the fighting occur. And so I would hope that you can look at this much more in a much more pragmatic way. I see Stefan says Zoom number, so I don't have a Zoom. I should get a Zoom. I should make that happen. Would you guys actually enjoy that? Would you guys actually enjoy discussions with people on for dissenting views? Because right now we're working on is having people, maybe not dissenting views, but having people on that maybe have different views, and they will be able to explain their side, to be able to open up people to different ideologies. Because I don't want to create an echo chamber. I don't want to hit you guys with the same ideology all the time. I want to keep things fresh. I want to keep things light and be able to show you guys more of what you may not be seeing in your own lives. Would you guys like to have kind of more of a discussionable debate instead of that? If that's something you guys would be interested in, send me a tweet. Send me a tweet, because I want to be able to measure this. I want to see how many people are actually listening this far in, how many people are paying attention. Send me a tweet and say, yes, I'm in favor of this. Yes, I'm in favor of having people on and actually having like intelligent debates or discussions surrounding these topics. And I will strive to make those happen. I will certainly try to provide more for what you guys want to see as well. So you guys can do that. You guys can also, as you guys can see, you guys can send me an email at Mr. Bearded Truth if you guys have ideas for topics, if you guys have columns or stories that you guys want to see discussed. I will not only shout you out during the videos of the topics you provide, but I will also make sure to send you a notification when I do cover them. So without further ado, guys, I'm going to hop off here. We have been going on for a little bit longer. I was allowed a little bit of a longer scope tonight, so it's a good night. And so it is Friday night, which means do not drink and drive or ride with those who do. You have family and friends who care about you and love you deeply. They want you to get home safe and sound, and then return here Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. In addition to me. So with that, guys, I appreciate you all for joining in tonight. I will see you guys Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. I am Mr. Merca, the Bearded Truth, Jason Lyon. Thank you all. Have a great night.